Do you want to see what it looks like when a millionaire Democrat takes the black pill and realizes he's been lied to about almost everything? Well, here you go.
As a Democrat who has been left homeless, who is now definitely in the center, but probably leaning increasingly right, I'm left yet again with an appreciation, despite the messenger of the message of the Trump administration, because what those guys did was pretty incredible in hindsight. These Abraham Accords, the accords with Israel and the GCC, the almost accord between Israel and Saudi, to really be able to find a long-lasting peace is just a real example for the world. And those guys did a lot of really good work. And
it's a miracle, actually, when you look at it. What they did, despite the fact, listen, I'm no fan of Trump, and I am too homeless.
But this is where,
but can I say this? But if you want to objectively look at what they did, it was good work. It was great work.
You have to. And in fact, this is a moment where you have to start to re-underwrite, is your, not you, Jason, but I'm just saying collectively, is one's Trump derangement syndrome causing more damage than anything that Trump could have actually done? And I think the answer is yes, because it's now causing us to not see that good work and then embrace and extend it. So much of the work that happened in that administration turns out to have been right. And that's what's so frustrating for me. The work on the border wall. We didn't like the messenger, so we killed the message. Turned out it was right. Issuing long-term debt to refinance when rates were at zero. We didn't like the messenger, so we killed the message. A structural peace in the Middle East. We didn't like the messenger, so we killed the message. When are we going to stop shooting ourselves in the foot? And when are we going to actually see and take the time to look past who is saying things and actually listen to them word for word?
I don't...
Hans, are we the baddies?
This right here is the same sort of sentiment I had many years ago when I realized that Obama was not going to be the hope and change he promised. Furthermore, that the endless wars would continue with the destruction of Libya and an attempt to do the same in Syria. I think I became suspicious to the realization that those in power were not there to help us. Many years ago when I saw General Wesley Clark come out and tell the general public without even batting an eye how the US was going to invade 7 countries in 5 years.
Right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me." And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, "You remember that?" He said, "Sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you."
Yes, you heard that right. And at the time I was dumb enough to believe Republicans wanted war and Democrats wanted peace. Oh, how foolish I was in my youth. So between Libya, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran, how many have fallen or are facing civil wars? If you honestly believe they are still not trying to complete this plan, please take a look at what our resident neocon presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, is calling for repeatedly.
You don't play the tit for tat with Iran. What you do instead is when they do this, you go right at the heart of their infrastructure. You hit their ability to go and even hurt an American soldier.
Physically.
If that doesn't work with Iran, yes, you take out their infrastructure. If that doesn't work, then you go after the leadership in the IRGC and make sure you go after the leadership in Iran. Remember, when we hit Soleimani, it flat-footed Iran. They respond to strength. Iran has always backed off when they realize America is serious. And so us having the backs of Israel is hugely important. Us having the back of Ukraine is important because you've got an unholy alliance of China, Russia, and Iran all trying to intimidate us and intimidate our friends. Don't fall for it. The one thing that all of them fear is when we have an alliance that's strong and that we stand by.
If Nikki Haley is elected, the one thing you can be sure of is war with Iran. What you will learn as you go down this rabbit hole with me is that those in power tend to have no problem coming out and telling you what they are going to do or have done to you if you keep your eyes open long enough. They had no issue telling us about the secret cabal they made to make sure they got the election results they wanted in 2020. A vast and powerful network that worked to ensure the proper outcome of the 2020 presidential election, and that proper outcome was not to elect Donald J. Trump. Well, that is all for today. Let me know down in the comments if you think enough people wake up before the 2024 election. I am hopeful that more people start to wake up to the Democrats' tactics like the All In podcast and realize just how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I hope neocons realize what a danger Nikki Haley is to the entire country.